Hey, welcome back to Untangled Minds, making sense of the mess one thread at a time. Life with ADHD, autism, and other neurodivergent experiences can feel tangled, chaotic, and overwhelming. I'm Deanna, a therapist, writer, mom, and intuitive, and I know firsthand what it's like to hold both the struggle and the beauty of having one of these brains. In this podcast, we'll explore the intersections of neurodivergence, attachment, relationships, parenting, and healing. Through story, strategy, and soulful connection, we'll untangle shame, celebrate strengths, and create space for authenticity. If you've ever felt too much or not enough, or simply different, this is your place to breathe, laugh, and belong. Welcome back to episode 2. I don't really have a title, but I have a working title. Today's episode is going to be about the bucket. The bucket was too small, not you. Here's the thing. Just like I don't want to fit myself into the boxes this world has tried to put me in, I don't want to try and fit into this podcast into a box either. The podcast is going to be me. This is me shining my weird like a beacon, guiding those around me to do the same thing. I refuse to filter myself, to mask, to be what I'm not, just to make myself less so that you're more comfortable. And that means here on Untangled Minds, everything's on the table. If you've ever been told you're too much, you're too weird, you're not normal, this episode is just for you. Today we're going to talk about what it really means when someone says you're too much and why the problem isn't you at all. So, what do I want to do with this podcast? I had to think a lot about that while I was deciding what to do for my second episode, and I really wanted to focus on what my listener got when they walk away. And for me, that was not something I necessarily knew when I first started recording and coming up with this idea about a podcast. But I sat down and I thought more about it, and I realized that as part of my neurodivergence, as part of who I am, as part of what I've gone through, I've spent my whole life trying to fit into boxes that were always too small. Sometimes the people that I was surrounding myself with were trying to put me in the box. Other times I was trying to shrink to fit in the box because that's where they were. And that left me feeling like I could not be authentic. And I don't want to do that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. By the end of this episode, I want you to feel lighter. I want you to feel like you don't need to make yourself smaller anymore either. Maybe by the end of this episode, you'll realize the problem is never you. It was the box that they asked you to fit yourself into that you had already outgrown. I think that, there's a pop, therapy, pop social, pop psychology thing today where people are telling you, oh, you don't have to be less. You don't have to just be authentic, be yourself. But do they actually mean it? I very rarely run into people in this world where I feel like they actually mean it when they say, you can be you. I like you for who you are. I have never said that to somebody if I did not mean it. So for me, as somebody who is very authentic, very honest, very forthcoming, very upfront, to have people tell me that I could just be myself and they loved me for who I was, or they liked me for who I was, and then for that to be held against me was heartbreaking. And I've had that happen to me more times than I could ever count. I was blindsided. I still am a lot of the time. I think that has to do with my neurodivergence, and I have a really hard time with social cues, so I don't really always understand when people are not being authentic with me. But because of my neurodivergence and my autism, I operate under this bias, and I'm going to call it a bias because I think it is a bias, although it's not a bias that I think most people would consider a bias. I operate under this bias that other people operate the same way I do. They are authentic, honest, open, and themselves. And I've come to realize in the professional world, in friendships, in social media, that I'm actually a rarity and kind of like this gem in the middle of a desert that nobody knows exists, because most people are not authentic, which is a downright shame, to be quite honest. Like, when I am sitting here and I'm being my authentic self and I'm not masked and I'm having fun, I'm fucking hilarious. God, the number of times I have made people just laugh and laugh and laugh on accident. It's hilarious. I'm funny. And when I'm masking, I don't feel like I can be that me, because that me has been told so many times in her life that she's too much, that she's too bubbly, that she's too loud, that she's too, her personality is too big, that she loves too hard, that she expects too much from the people that she loves. That's a whole different podcast episode by itself right there. And I grew up making myself less, or trying to fit myself into the boxes that were presented to me for me to fit into. I had come to believe that if I could just make myself less so that I didn't rock the boat, so that I didn't annoy people with my personality, so that I didn't overwhelm them with my giddy, bubbly self, if I did that, maybe they would love me. Maybe they wouldn't leave. I was told so many times in my adult life that the way I love was too much. You don't need to spend so much money on me. You don't need to buy me presents. You don't need to do things for me. What do people not understand about? That's just me. That's what I love to do. I love to spoil people. I love to be big. I love to have this giant personality. I love that about me. Why don't they? It took a lot of heartache and a lot of hurt for me to realize that I was actually not the problem. The problem was that these people who are saying these things to me, they weren't strong enough to hold everything I had to give to them. They weren't big enough to carry the weight that is the joy that comes with being loved by me. The box they wanted me to fit into was a box I had already outgrown. And because of my neurodivergence and my insecurity, having grown up a very heavy child and a heavy adult, I had no self-confidence. I didn't think that people liked me for who I was. I didn't think that people liked me for where I came from. And that, paired with my experience with narcissism and trauma, led me to believe that I had to fit myself and mold myself around people in order for them to love me. And in doing that, I was forfeiting everything that I am, because I felt like if I didn't do that, then they were going to leave me. Talk about a trauma response. And that was something that, if I'm being honest, it's something I'm still working on. I still have days where I think I'm going to just say the wrong thing to my friends, or I'm going to be too me. I'm going to be too bubbly. I'm going to be too big of a personality, and then they're going to despise me and think I'm annoying. Growing up, I had friends, quote friends, right, who would tell me that I didn't need to be so loud, that I was annoying, that my personality was stupid. Used to make fun of me behind my back, and I thought that meant I wasn't worthy. And so I decided to change who I was to make myself palatable to them. But I never expected them to grow. I'm just kind of realizing that. I never expected these people who had these negative things to say about me, somebody who is a lover, a giver, a empath, a authentic, just genuine human being. People who found fault in that, I never expected them to change. It's interesting. Why didn't I feel like I deserved more? Why didn't I see the beauty of what I was? Instead, I lost myself in other people's drama. I lost myself in other people's problems. I lost myself in other people's personalities. I masked and I became what they wanted me to be so that they would accept me and love me. It never changed it. It never fixed the problem. The cost, like, Lord, the cost of trying to wear a mask to be what they wanted me to be. God, I lost so much of my adult life already not knowing who I was. I couldn't tell you what I wanted to be when I grew up. I couldn't tell you what I liked to do. I couldn't tell you my hobbies. I couldn't tell you my preferences. Instead, I had crippling anxiety. I had depression that sunk me 6 feet under every single time somebody looked at me and said the mask I was holding up still wasn't good enough. I spent a decade in a friendship where this individual used me and manipulated me and added years of trauma into my life. And when this individual would say, I'm done with you. I'm done being manipulated by you. Oh, the fucking comedy in that one. I would fall apart. I would feel like my world was crashing down and I was dying. Because if this person who I had spent 10 years of my life loving the way I thought she wanted me to love her couldn't love me, who could? Why do people leave? Why do people tell me I'm too much? After I got divorced, I was engaged in what I'll now call a situationship. At the time, I was in love. And I have no problem saying it. Like, Thomas, if you ever hear this, I was 100% in love with you. And I am also acutely aware that you just used me. More power to you. I hope you got from my love what I wanted you to get, which was that you deserved to be loved. And I know that your own trauma gave you your own issues, and I couldn't love you through those, and that's okay. I deserved better than you gave me. I deserved better than what you put me through. I never deserved to be a hidden secret. I made myself fit into the box that I thought you would love me. You made me. You can sit there and say you didn't, but you did. And when I couldn't fit into that box, when my personality was too big, I would spiral. He's gonna leave me. He's gonna leave me. He's gonna leave me. Huh. Joke's on me. You can't leave me if you never actually had me, right? You can't abandon me if you never actually cared. But none of that actually matters. This isn't about my trauma. This isn't about my hurt, although all very valid things in my life. This is about the fact that the box you wanted me to fit into, I had outgrown years before I tried to shove myself into that box for you. And as I chiseled away at the person who I was becoming to try and make myself less, I lost what little pieces of who I was I had already found. And I was miserable. The lack of authenticity that I was living in, like, it was painful. I don't know about you guys, but for those of you who mask, who are high masking, and choosing to live in a high masking environment, is it not painful for you like it is for me? I am genuinely, physically in pain when I'm sitting there trying to make myself less in order for somebody to like me. And that physical pain just manifests for me as like anxiety. Because ultimately, I can't be what somebody wants me to be if they want me to be less than I am. I can't be less than I am. What I am is amazing. Why is expecting me to be less than I am the way to go? Why is that even an acceptable answer? The cost of trying to shrink myself was heavy. My anxiety was at its peak. I wasn't sleeping. I constantly lived with knots in my chest, self-doubt, feeling like I was unworthy. I replayed and hyper-focused and hyper-fixated on conversations over and over and over. I kept wondering why I wasn't good enough when people would leave me. Why was I the problem? Why was I too much? And I don't know how many times I had to get hurt in that process. Probably way more than I should have. And then I realized that I wasn't broken. I wasn't too much. I was just living in the boxes that were never meant for me. I was trying to ask people to hold me who weren't strong enough to carry me. I looked at the buckets that they asked me to fit into and I said, I can reduce myself to fit in that for you. Watch me contort my personality to fit your minimalistic representation of what you think good enough is. Watch me tear myself down to be enough for somebody who never wanted me for who I was. Talk about dedication, man. And one day, it just kind of clicked. I can't tell you what made it click. I don't know if it was something I heard, an experience I had, watching myself love somebody over and over and over again and be thrown away over and over again, and then realizing like I was doing the same thing over and over again and maybe I should expect something different. What do we say? The definition of crazy is to do the same thing over and over and expect a different outcome. Definitely would say I met that definition of crazy. When it finally clicked, I recognized if somebody thinks that I'm too much, it's not because I'm too much. It's because they're not enough. Think about it like this. Okay, say I am a gallon. Let's say a gallon of pineapple juice because I love that shit. I'm a gallon of pineapple juice. And Tom was a teacup. Being a gallon is not a problem. People fucking love pineapple juice. I love pineapple juice. Who doesn't want a Hawaiian sunset in a cup? I don't know if that makes any sense. Whatever. The pineapple juice wasn't the problem, but I was never going to fit my gallon of juice into a teacup. The volume of my personality was not the problem. The container that Tom wanted me to fit in was. But this also breeds another problem. If I have a gallon of juice to give, and I give this gallon of juice to somebody who has a teacup, I am pouring and pouring and pouring, and their cup is running over. And then when I'm empty and I expect them to pour back into me, guess what? They only have a teacup to give back. They weren't prepared for me to have, they didn't have 16 teacups to catch all of the pineapple juice that I poured into their life. They only kept one teacup. So when they give me that teacup of juice back, I feel empty. I feel hollow. I feel neglected. And those feelings can be devastating. It makes it feel like you gave all of this to somebody else, and that's all they cared to give back. That's all you're worth. My capacity is a gallon of pineapple juice. Tom's capacity was 8 ounces. My capacity overwhelmed him. My personality was too big for him. But you know what? To say it plain and simple, if you think I'm too big, go find less. Neither one of us deserve to be constrained to the limitations that you are presenting into this dynamic. Neither one of us deserves the trauma that comes with you trying to make me be less than who I am. Or me expecting from you something you're not capable of. The cup goes both ways. I can't give you more than you're capable of holding. And if you're not willing to get another teacup, if you're not willing to grow so that you can hold everything I have to offer, then this isn't going to work, baby. I won't make myself less anymore. And neither should you. For all of you out there who are neurodivergent, late diagnosed, high masking, high anxiety, who have been told over and over to be less, tone it down, fit in, hide your weird, be the truth. That wasn't what I meant to say. But it's perfect. Stop being less. Be the truth. The truth is, you were never the problem. The problem is a world that wasn't built to hold you. And you've outgrown the tiny ass motherfucking boxes that they presented to you to fit into. You know, I find it so funny that there are millions of us who experience this same thing every single day. Being told to be less, to tone it down, to fit in, to be normal. That if all of us just stopped trying to do that, if we stopped trying to, quote, be normal, end quote, maybe we'd realize we are the normal. Maybe we'd realize that who we are is perfect. You don't need to be less, you just need a bigger bucket. Or, how's this for parallel? How about you just spill yourself and let it flow and not give two fucks? How about you just seep out into the world and you share all of who you are with everybody around you, so that everybody around you understands that what you are is perfect just as you are. You know, some days trying to fit in, trying to be liked, trying to be loved, they're too heavy. Some days I don't want to try anymore. Some days I want to give up. Some days I wish I could just fit into that box that they want me so neatly to fold myself into. And then I remember I have survived every single worst day that this world has ever thrown at me. There's no reason I can't survive this one too. So like I said, I will not make myself less just to make you more comfortable. One of my passions is tarot. So I am going to shuffle my cards and I am going to pull one card. And this card is going to give a message to send you with as you leave today's podcast. And I have no idea what that message is going to be. But I know that from my soul to yours, it's the one you need to hear. Oops. So, let's do this. Oh, the cards. They always do it for me. Ladies and gents, the card of today's episode is this, the Queen of Cups, which is hilarious because oftentimes when I pull cards, the Queen of Cups is the card that the cards always say it's me. It's the representation. The Queen of Cups represents compassion and empathy. She symbolizes intuition and emotional wisdom. She's associated with nurturing and caring for other people. She indicates that you have a strong connection to your emotions and those around you. She is the empath of the tarot deck. She is all about your inner voice, the inner wisdom, and tuning into your feelings. I think this is just absolutely hilarious because this whole episode was framed around the idea of not being less, of no longer taming yourself down to fit into the boxes and buckets and cups and whatever metaphor you want to use, to be digestible, to be easier on the people around you who think that you're too much, just so they can be comfortable. All the while making yourself more uncomfortable, holding up a mask that drains every ounce of energy that you have just to be what you think is loved. The anxiety, the exhaustion, the feeling invisible, feeling like nobody really knows who you are. This Queen of Cups, this card, she is telling us the answer is in yourself. She is saying who you are is exactly what you are meant to be. What do I want you to take away from today? I want you to try this. Next time somebody asks you to be less, or tells you you're too much, or even says those words out loud, I want you to pause. If you need to walk away for a second, do it. Because I want you to ask, am I really too much? Or are they trying to fit me and shrink me into a space that I've already outgrown? This simple question takes the weight off of you and put it back where it belongs. Because you are not broken, my friends. You are not too much. You have simply grown beyond the box that they want to keep you in. And when that happens, you need to remind yourself of this. If their bucket is too small for me, that is okay. If their bucket is too small for me, that is okay. And I want you to say it until you feel it in your bones. So, I have a challenge for you this week. I want you to pick one time or instance or place or moment where you're going to stop shrinking yourself. Maybe you're going to laugh as loud and hard as you want to at somebody's joke because it's fucking hilarious. Maybe you're going to wear that outfit that you always keep in the back of your closet that you feel just represents who you are. But you worry that if you put it on, somebody's going to say you're weird or too much. Maybe when somebody says something and you bite your tongue, you're going to choose not to. Whatever it looks like. Choose one small way to show up as authentically as yourself as you possibly can. And I want you to watch the magic that blooms from that moment. Now, I feel like I need to put the caveat out there. That doesn't mean... okay, hold on. Rewind. Bring it back. What I have learned from unmasking and being authentically me is this. You might lose people. People might not like you. And that's okay. Because everybody spends their whole life wanting you to trim the excess fat, right? Trim the fat, trim it off, be this. Well, what if the excess fat is actually these people who want you to trim? What if they're actually what you're supposed to be trimming, not yourself? What if your biggest thing that you take away from this episode today is that you are not too much, you are just enough? Your bigness is not a flaw, it is your strength. It is the beauty and glory of who you are. And if anyone thinks that you're too much, let them go find less. And if you're feeling extra sassy, tell them to go find less. Because that's what you deserve. This has been episode 2 of Untangled Minds. Unmask, untangle, and shine your weird into the world like a beacon. Until next time, stay weird.